Okay, do I have everything? I think I do. Okay. Hi there, my name is Jonathan and this is Jonathan's Days, and this is my part of the internet where I share all about the things that I've been knitting on in the last couple of weeks. This is episode 15 and I have a little bit of fun stuff to share with you and it should be good. So let's jump straight right in to finished objects and what I'm wearing. So this you would have seen in the previous episode if you caught that. This is the Vellichor by Andrea Mowry. I knit this out of Qing Fibre, which is the dashing fingering base, which is a 100% superwash merino base. It's fingering. This is knit out of 3.25mm needles. No idea what that is in US sizing. And it was probably one of the longest projects I've had on my needles in a long time. Longest like jumper project, sweater project. And for a short sleeve project, it took a very long time to knit. It is one that I really focused quite monogamously on to get it done because I wanted to wear it to a trip to Amsterdam that I recently went on, and I pushed to get it done. I wanted to get it done and I wanted to be blocked and dried before the trip. So it did take me probably just over a month to make this, which I know for probably the majority of knitters out there in the world, 1 month to make a sweater is like quite fast, but I'm usually about 3 weeks to make a sweater for me, so that extra week and a half knitting monogamously more or less on the project, bringing it to work with me every day. Like if you know me, you know that I tend to bring a sock project with me to work or something simple, but this came with me everywhere because I was so focused on getting it finished. It was a much smaller needle than I kind of realized it was like a fingering weight sweater, when most of the sweaters that I make are probably like DK to worsted weight usually, or if they are fingering, it's mostly stockinette, so I can go quite quickly, whereas this was you know, I wouldn't say ribbing, but it wasn't just straight stockinette. You can see obviously it's a garter stitch, so in the round garter stitch, obviously when you knit flat is just all knits, but when you knit in the round it's knits and then purls, so that slowed me down a little bit too. I am thrilled with the final garment. I absolutely love it. I'm going to stand up for you so you can take a look at the stitch patterns. So I spoke about in the previous episode, but it is an interesting construction because you knit it from the bottom up. You basically knit essentially like two squares that are seamed together, but you knit in the round bottom up and then split front and back and then seam the shoulders together with a 3 needle bind off, and then you've kind of got this slashed neck. Let me just pull my t-shirt from underneath so you can kind of see it a bit better. Yeah, so this kind of boat neck, slash neck to finish the garment, and then you just literally do probably 2.5 centimeters, not even less than that, inch of ribbing on the armholes just to kind of give that a bit of structure, and then that's it. I initially wore it with like just with nothing underneath and wore it kind of as a t-shirt. I have found that I like it styled with a t-shirt underneath, like with the sleeves rolled up like this. I think it looks quite cool, and that's probably how I'll wear it moving forward. I've heard it's a really nice transitional piece from like spring and autumn because it is wool. This is 100% wool, so it's cool, but also would probably keep me warm in the colder months, so I've been enjoying that. The yarn itself, as I spoke about in the previous episode, I didn't realize it was going to be superwash. It is superwash now. I do have some concerns about it growing in length, which is something that superwash does, and I think something that garter stitch has a tendency to do, especially when there's a lot of weight on it, but I'm not super worried about it. I can always reblock it to kind of get it to spring back a little bit, and I can also just enjoy the fact that I knit this to be kind of oversized. Like, it's not a fitted garment, you know, there's like, it is like a big box essentially, and I wanted it to be that, and that was the look that I enjoyed about the pattern. So yeah, I really, really enjoy it. I can't think of anything else that I want to say about it. I do recommend it. Great, like, pattern is written great by Andrea Mowry, of course, she's a pro. The only new technique I really did was the 3-needle bind off, which wasn't particularly difficult. It's just kind of knitting 2 together off 2 separate needles, so it's not super impossible, and Andrea Mowry does have a video tutorial for that on her channel as well. So that's all covered, and yeah, the yarn itself was nice to work with. I already had my little moan about the superwash aspect of it, which I didn't super enjoy, but the colors are stunning. So the colors are the main color, the grayish Shiitake. The first main contrast color is Okinami, and then the stripe is sky blue. And that's the 3 colors. So one more close-up look at the details. It's super cool. It's very up my alley. It's very graphic and interesting without being kind of particularly wild, and I think I'm going to get a lot of compliments on it, and really, really enjoyed it. So that was my first and I think only finished object, because I was just really, you know, focused on getting this done, and that was my like main focus for the last couple of weeks, was getting this finished, and it was definitely a labor of love. I will flag that it is, you know, even though it's short sleeved, it is a fingering weight sweater at the end of the day, and you should approach it as such. But I think as well, for a lot of people, they'll probably knit it cropped, whereas I knit it, I go up on my tippy toes, I knit it almost a bit long, to be honest. So so yeah, that's kind of another thing. Like, I was looking at people's pattern pages on Ravelry and their pictures, and I was counting how many repeats they did before the arm split, and most people were like 7 or 8, whereas I was like 11 11 or 12 stripes before I split. So it was a bit longer on me, so of course it's going to take a bit longer, but I'm super happy with it now. I have tons of yarn left over of all 3 colors, so I don't know what I'm going to do with those, but we'll see. Obviously I have loads of the sky blue because it was just the 1 stripe, but I did have to break into a 3rd skein of the grey and my 2nd skein of the dark blue as well. So it did end up going a bit further for me, but I think for most people you'd probably get away with 200 gram skeins of the main color, 1 of the contrast, and obviously a bit of for the stripe. It would be nice to use a scrap for the stripe actually, because it's not that much yarn if you had something funky you wanted to throw in there as a pop, or just leave it out. It's really kind of fun like that you can mix it up. So yeah, so that's the Vellichor by Andrea Mowry. Anything else I want to mention about it? Yarn is great, needles, blocked it. Yeah, to block it I didn't stretch or anything, I just did what I always do and let it dry. That was it. So yeah, so that's the Vellichor. It's my only finished object. I hope you guys like it, and if you have made it or want to make it, let me know. I'd love to hear your thoughts on it and how much you wear it. And my original inspiration for it, which I mentioned in the previous episode, was Mel from Cozy Cardigans / Big Little Yarn Co. When I saw hers, it kind of jumped into my queue, and I thought it was the perfect time in the summer to make a nice sleeveless sweater. So yeah, thanks Mel, thanks for the inspo. Cool, so let's jump into whips. This one's going to be hard to show you because it's got 4 balls of yarn hanging off it, but we will struggle on. Ooh. Okay, so in 3 weeks, 2 or 3 weeks, we're going to Mexico for 2 weeks for our trip, and my partner's sister just had a little baby, so funnily enough my mom knit a cardigan and hat for the baby, and so because of that the gauntlet was thrown down, so now I have to make something for the baby, which I'm happy to do. But so it's a little niece, and so they are only a month or so old, and so what I'm making is a 1 to 2 years old piece, and that's simply because I've been told that mom already has tons of clothes for her current age, so getting something that's a little bit, for her being a little bit older is a good idea. And what my mom made is closer to what her size is now. So we'll have something from my side of the family for now and something for a little bit further down the line. And yeah, so this, what else do I want to say about it before I crack on? Nothing much, I'll just show you. So I have made the yoke, I've split for the sleeves, and now I'm currently working on the ruffle. It looks like nothing, but this is, maybe this side is a better way to show you. There you go, you can see my little ruffle. So this is the Petit Soufflé by the amazing designer and podcaster and friend Laura Penrose, Penrose Knits. And so I knew this is something I wanted to make for my own niece and something I wanted to make if it fit for my boyfriend's niece. And so since we're going so soon, I've cast on like straight away to get this done. It should be pretty quick. This is like a day of knitting thereabouts to get to this point. And so since I'm going to Mexico very soon, you won't see the finished object in person most likely because I'll obviously be taking it with me. So I wanted to show you at this point how it looked. I also wanted to show you some of the ruffle. So this morning, like when I woke up, the first thing I did was work on the ruffle because I wanted to be able to like look at the ruffle since it's such a nice part of the pattern. But the ruffle is like, this is the smallest version of this you can make. Laura has, you know, she has an amazing mohair version, she has the chunky version. This is like the smallest version of this you can make, and there's so many stitches to do the ruffle. Who knew? I never knew. This is the first ruffle I've ever done. But, so I've only got halfway through the ruffle, but you get the idea. You get how cute and pretty it is ruffling away on this half. And so this, I'll finish this around, and then it's just straight down the bottom, sleeves, and then it's an I-cord neck, I believe, and there's also a detail here, which you probably won't be able to see, but there eventually there'll be like a little keyhole detail there that you'll close with an I-cord and a button. And I've had this idea to use a button from one of my boyfriend's shirts, like you get a spare button, so that way it's like a little piece of him is kind of watching over her. So I'm going to sew that button in and use that button as the button detail on the back of it. So yes, it's so stinking cute. I absolutely love it, and I am really enjoying making it. Laura's patterns, it's the second time I've knit one of Laura's patterns for a family member, and she's kind of my go-to because I really trust her to have a well-written pattern and make a beautiful piece in the end. So this is no exception so far, and I am really enjoying it. The yarn I'm knitting it in is also a like Tamia Laura yarn, which is the Filcolana Arwetta Classic, is that what it's called? Yarn. This is one of their new colors. This is the color Oatmeal, and I will actually grab a ball. So yeah, Arwetta Filcolana. This is 80% superwash merino wool and 20% nylon. This was initially a yarn created for baby knits, I believe, or for children's knits. So I kind of like that this is what I'm using, because I know that, you know, people like to use it for kids and babies knits. As I said, the color is Oatmeal and the color number is 978. It looks like this. Now I know you're thinking this isn't like a very baby color, but I think it's quite nice to have something kind of neutral for a baby to wear, so that if they're wearing another bright color, like a dress or trousers or whatever, that it's something that will go with that. So that's why I wanted to get this. And my boyfriend's sister is an extremely stylish person, so I was like, let me go for something a little bit different, something like simple and chic and modern to go with this pattern. So that's why I went with this color. I did also get, spoilers, if my other niece won't be watching this, but my sister-in-law might. So this is the other color I got, which is called Peacock, which is for my niece, and she is nearly 2, and so I'll probably make the next size up. So the size I'm making for this is the 1 to 2, and then the next size will be the 3 to 4. So that'll be for Christmas. So that's still a little while to go. So you'll see this again, and it will be super cool. I know my niece will like this color. She has a lot of stuff that will match with this and look really cute on her with her lovely eye color. And so yeah, and it's one of those things, like I know Laura loves this yarn and I've never used it before because I'm not really a superwash person, but I do get it now that I'm working with it. It's super soft. It's really, really nice to work with. I really do enjoy it. I am holding it double for this pattern because it is a DK weight pattern and this is fingering weight. So I'm holding it double. I haven't gauge swatched, which is probably bad, but I'm not really, you know, I'm not making something to fit the child. I'm making something that the child will eventually fit into, if that makes sense. So I'm not really going to gauge swatch for that, which is pretty naughty, but I'm just, you know, plowing away, and it, you know, it looks like it's going to be pretty cute for a little baby, for a little 1-year-old, 2-year-old. So the size wise, it looks pretty good. The needle size I'm using is 4, and yeah, I'm really, really enjoying it. Laura, you're kick-ass. You're so good at what you do, and I'm loving your pattern as always, and loving your yarn. I get why you really like the yarn. The only other thing which someone might, this is so random, but if you can't ask the knitters, who can you ask? So they come in like these little sausages, and the strange thing is that I thought that there might be a center pull somewhere, but I've been like digging my finger in here and there is no center pull. So I've been pulling from the outside, and they're not very, like, you know, as I'm pulling, I'm holding a double, so I've got 2. As I'm pulling, these are like jumping all over the place. So I don't know, what do people do? I've kind of stuck them in my knitting bags up straight and it kind of winds off that way, but if anybody knows, or if there's a center pull that I'm just not finding, do let me know. It's one of those things that, like, it's not a huge issue, but you know, it bothers you when you're trying to like yank the yarn out with your pinky finger or your other, or whatever, however you tension your yarn, yank it to get out of the bag. But yeah. Anyway, this is my Petite Souffle, and I'm loving it. I can't wait to finish it. I'll probably get finished it in the next week or so. So then I'll have it blocked and ready to go. It's super soft. I don't think it will be scratchy or anything like that on the baby. And then it's easy to care for mom afterwards as well, since it's just machine washable, and as long as they don't tumble dry it, all should be good. So that's it. That's my Petite Souffle. Love it, love it, love it. Cool. So I think I only have, well, I have my sock tube, which if you've watched a previous episode you would have seen. You know, I carry a little sock tube around that I knit on. It's not that interesting because you've already seen it, so I will always have a little bit more work in that, but I think once it gets a bit longer I'll show you. But yeah, my sock tube always travels around with me, stuffed in every single bag, and is one of those things that I knit standing up, waiting for the tube. Restaurants, whatever, any spare moment, I'm working on the sock tube, but it's not that interesting to show. But I do need to put in the heels and toes in my other sock tube that I just came across a second ago. So yeah, I think once I come back from Mexico and the weather turns a little bit in the UK, it'll probably motivate me to finish off some socks. And I will talk about later some other socks as well, some other yarn I got for socks. So I feel like sock season is approaching, but right now I'm not really wearing them. So apart from being a little like mindless knit that just keeps me entertained, it's not my #1 priority. So yeah, we will venture on to the final whip. Sorry it's not a huge amount of knitting, guys, because as I said, I was just being very monogamous with my Vellichor, and I was doing a bit of traveling, so it's not that much knitting when you're traveling. Well, depends really, but not a lot of huge progress knitting. So yeah, this final whip has a story, and I'm super excited about it, and I think it's gonna be, I don't know, I'm really happy with it, and I think it's gonna be super fun and special. But let me hear what you think first. So what I have here, the story starts with when Amy from Lavie Anime was visiting London at Loop, and I went to meet her and got my book signed. You would have seen in a previous episode my worsted book and I got that book signed and I picked out some yarn. And one of the main things I wanted to get that day was I wanted to get a sweater's quantity of grey yarn, because I really wanted a plain grey sweater. You know, that really kind of utilitarian sweater that you can just throw on, that you have. You know, when we knit, we obviously want to knit something that's entertaining. So I get why knitters have really fantastically patterned pieces, because they're super enjoyable to work on. But on the flip side of that, I just really wanted a simple grey sweater, and I didn't want to go shopping for it when I have, like, I know of amazing yarns and amazing patterns that could create something beautiful. So I picked up the Lavie Anime Corrie Worsted in the color French Grey. So this is the color. It's a beautiful pale grey. I'm not sure, like, it's probably pretty close to the undyed base, because I know this is a grey base. But I absolutely love the Corrie Worsted. I've knit with it 2 times now. I have 2 sweaters with it, and I love it. I love to knit with it. I love to wear it. So I knew that if I wanted like a workhorse but beautiful luxury grey sweater, this would be the base to do it in. So I got a sweater's quantity of this grey. But then towards the end of the day, I picked up one more skein, and I've left it over there. So let me grab that. So I picked up one more skein of Corrie Worsted, and this was just because I thought the colour was beautiful. And when I think of Lavie Anime and I think of Amy, I think of 2 colours, which is Yellow Brick Road. Like, yellow is such a Lavie Anime colour. And then the other colour I think of is this one, which is Flouromorganite. And so in most bases, this colour is quite like almost neon, quite bright. But then in the Corrie Worsted base, because it's more grey, it kind of gets a more muted tone. So it's kind of like a definitely a peachy pink, and on the border, like, you know, got that fluorescent energy about it at the same time. And so when I held these 2 together, I just love pink and grey. Like, I think there's something about it that really speaks to me, but I just loved how these 2 colors looked. So then I thought, okay, well, when inspiration strikes, just, you know, follow that. So I had in my mind for a long time to make the grey sweater, but I was like, maybe just nice, like, thin stripes of pink would be really, really nice. And so I was like, okay, well, I could find a pattern and just make a simple, like, sweater. But then I was like, the pink, like, simple stripes, they're so simple. Like, do I want something with a little bit more interest? So I was thinking more about it, and I was thinking about going searching for it, but then I was like, I'm pretty sure I can just make it up myself. Like, I don't need to go and find a pattern and hack a pattern. I'm pretty sure I've knit enough sweaters to understand the basics of construction, to understand how to increase for my size, and then just adding in stripes with a little bit of interest, it wouldn't be that hard. So that is what I did. So this is what I've come up with. This is, I guess you could call it my first design, a self-drafted pattern. I'm not sure yet what it's going to be, but here it is. Hasn't got a name, obviously. How can it have a name when it's not even done yet? So yeah, so this is my, you could say my first pattern. Let's just call it my first pattern. We'll see. I came up with, so it's a circular round yoke. It's pretty simple. It's got stripes with some slip stitches for a bit of interest. So it kind of creates this kind of, I guess you could say, like furry, fuzzy, like interrupted stripes. So it is striped, but it's got like flecks in it, I guess is the best way to describe. Let me get up quite close so you can see. Yeah. And it's almost radial because it's like a circular yoke. I did a little tubular bind on and or tubular cast on, and I did that in the Flouromorganite color, so that you just got that little edge of pink before the ribbing, and then you've got short rows in the back. And then the yoke is really fun to knit because it's just like you're striping every couple of rounds, but then you're striping, you're slipping, you're increasing. So it's it's very fun to knit because it's rare that you're just knitting one round, and then when you're knitting one round plain, that's your kind of like relaxing round, and then you're doing something different the next round. So I think it's quite fun to knit. I've done a chart already for it. I've done almost like a color work chart for ease of understanding and ease of use, and I have figured it out. So the rest of the body is going to be in the grey, and then the sleeves will also be in the grey, so it'll just be the yoke and the stripes. Partly because I think I liked the look of it, and I think it might have been a bit too much or a bit too busy to do the whole sweater like that, and partly because I only have one skein of Flouromorganite, and I think I would run out of the pink, and Lavie Anime is on holiday, and I went to order the very last skein at Loop, but they had an inventory error, so they didn't actually have a skein. So I feel like it was the yarn god saying, just do the yoke. The yoke will be nice. And then at the end of the sleeves and for the bind off, I'm going to do the same with just the pink. So you'll just have that touch of pink to bring it all together at the end. But I really, really like it. It's one of those things. Tell me what you think, guys. Would you be interested in this? I really enjoy it. I'm really happy with it. I can't wait to wear it. But if you think it looks interesting and you would like to wear it, let me know. I'm gonna finish off this. I'm going to figure out the decreases for the sleeves, which I haven't done. This would be my size, which would be a size 3/medium, which would be like a 40-inch chest circumference, or about 100 centimeters. And so that would be kind of like the medium size. So I'd already have that done. And because I've written it up already kind of as a pattern, I could grade it out. But do let me know what you think of it. If you like it, would you be interested in it? If not, I'll just keep it for me because I love it. But it's something I would really like and I really wanted to wear. And I love the pink and the grey together. So I'm going to forge ahead with that. It's taking a break right now just because I want to finish the Petit Soufflé for the niece, and that's more important. So I will finish off this, but it knits up really, really quick because it's Corrie Worsted. It's in 4mm needles as well, with a smaller one for the ribbing. And yeah, I've really, really enjoyed it. That's the back. I thought about trying to get the stripes into the short rows, but I was like, who has time for that? Who cares? I think when you're actually wearing it, it doesn't really look too bad. And so yeah, I really, really like it. If I was to move forward with it and actually grade it and test it and have it released as a pattern, there's a couple of tweaks, like super, super small tweaks, tiny, tiny, tiny ones. So if I did grade it up and did get people to test it, I would probably make another one while everyone was testing it as well, so that I could have like a final sample that's exactly to how I would like it, because you kind of learn things about it once you've knit it. And it kind of was, they're small tweaks, but they're tweaks that I was like, okay, it won't affect it in a huge way, it will just make it that little bit better, but they're not such a big change that I wanted to rip the whole yoke back and start again. Like, I'm still super happy with this and I think it looks great, and it's something I'll wear. So yeah, so let me know what you think, guys, if you would be interested, if you like the design, if you'd like to make it, let me know. And so I think if there is interest and I do grade it out, one thing I want to do is I want to test for someone else before I ask other people to test, because I have no idea what that whole process is like from the other side. So I wouldn't really want to ask people to test a pattern for me without me knowing what it's like to test for someone else. But we'll see. So this is the very first foray. I want to check in and see what you guys think, because it's because of this community that I've been inspired to do something like this and share something like this. So if you're interested, then I will pursue it. And if you're like, that's disgusting, Jonathan, you keep that to yourself, don't show us ever again, then I'll do that too. That's fine. I like it. So yeah, that is this, which has no name yet. I have an idea for a name, but it's in Irish, and I don't know if people already have a difficulty saying Jonathan's Days, so I think doing a lot of Irish naming of designs would be a bit tough for people, but we'll see. I still like it, and I will wear the crap out of this. So yeah. So last but not least is little bits and acquisitions that I've gotten over the last couple of weeks. Since I'm talking about design, I do have another idea for a pattern that I want to make for myself, and that's the way I'm going with all these patterns, is that I'm only making things I want to make myself. So it's kind of like, I've made this for me, I like it, do you like it, do you want it? Then cool, have it. So the idea I have is for a like Aran weight sweater, I guess, worsted Aran weight sweater, and it's got some cables on it, and I've done plenty of cables in my time, particularly on the Billy pullover, which you would have seen if you're a long time viewer. And so I know how to do cables, I don't know how to design cables, and I have a very like specific idea of the cable I want. And so I picked up this book because I feel like if you want to learn cables, there's only one person you got to go to, and that's Nora Gawn. I've never knit any of Nora Gawn's patterns, and maybe I will before I, jump into designing a sweater with cable detail. But I wanted to learn from the best, and I was doing some research, and I was on Brooklyn Tweed's website, and they recommended this book, and the foreword is actually by Jared Flood. So I had I picked this up, and this literally arrived yesterday. So this is the Nora Gawn's Knitted Cable Sourcebook, Breakthrough Guide to Knitting Cables and Designing Your Own, more than 150 stitch patterns, with foreword by Jared Flood. So I'm really excited to get into this. I think the cable I want to do is pretty simple, but if you want to learn from the best. So I'm excited to spend some time with this and get to know it a little bit better. It's one of those things where the enjoyable thing about like wanting to design your own knitted garments is that when you have this idea in your head and you're like, I don't have the skill to like translate it. So you gotta hit the books and do the research, and this book seems to be, I've just gotten it, but it seems to be absolutely beautiful, super informational, tons of cool cable patterns and stitches and full patterns you can make yourself in there. So I can't wait to dive into it and learn a bit more about cables before I jump down the rabbit hole of designing my own. So yeah, so I got that, which was great. Since I last podcasted, I was also home in Ireland, and me going home to Ireland means that I ship yarn from companies that are based in Europe. Because of Brexit, unfortunately, we have like customs charges now sometimes when we bring stuff into the UK. So whenever I go home to Ireland, I just send stuff home there to collect, because Ireland is still in the EU. I am still an EU citizen, so I make use of that. So I went home and got a little package. So I picked up a couple of bits from Lavie Anime, of course. I have Addiction, it's my fave. First thing I picked up, which is something I'm surprised I haven't ever gotten yet, which is the Lavie Anime Mondim. Everyone knows that I love Mondim, and everyone knows I love Lavie Anime, but I've never actually gotten any of their collaboration. So it's the Mondim base, and it's dyed by Lavie Anime. This color is Sanho. Let me pull this down a little bit so you can see. It's really cool. This color is very me, and then this like bit of rust speckle through it is just fantastic. And actually it very much matches the painting behind here, which this was painted by my boyfriend's mother, who is a very talented painter, in case people want to know. People have asked before. But yeah, so this is super cool. I was actually picking up some skeins for another project, and then this like fell into my basket. It's one of those things, like I have that addiction. Like, is anyone else like me that like a skein of sock yarn will always find its way into your basket, whether that be your virtual basket or your in-person basket? I'm going to talk about later where I went to in Amsterdam, and like I was this close to putting more sock, like I was like, just put a skein of sock yarn in your basket. It's kind of like when you go shopping, you're like, oh, don't forget the milk, like don't forget the fingering weight yarn, like you got to have some of that in your basket. And so this is no exception. So it's beautiful. I can't wait to make a pair of socks with this. And the other two skeins that I got from Lavie Anime are these two. More Corrie Worsted, because I love Corrie Worsted. So these are the two colors I picked up. The top is Seaglass and the bottom is Bone. And I got these two because I want to put them together with this. This is the Corrie Confetti in the Nightfall yeah, Nightfall #1 shade. And so I'm doing a Wrong Side Sweater by Max the Knitter. It's going to be my like Mexico project because we'll be on very long plane rides and we've got lots of relaxing time at the beach and country houses and nice things like that. And so I wanted something like plain to knit. So I'm going to do the Wrong Side Sweater, and you have like stripes in the ribbing. And I wanted these two colors and I thought they looked really cool, like almost like galaxy together. So beautiful, beautiful. Final thing I picked up from Lavie Anime is something I didn't kind of realize they even stocked, and it's one of those interesting things that it was like a collaboration that I wouldn't have guessed at, but it's a collaboration that's like very specific to my interests. So this is a random wooden box, and you're like, Jonathan, what is this wooden box? If you don't know about me, I love to knit, but I also love stationery. It was probably the first reason I started my like Jonathan's Days Instagram, was to post about stationery and follow stationery accounts and stuff like that. Knitting is definitely taken over, but my first love is stationery. And one of the companies that stationery companies that I follow and that I enjoy, it's Foglietto, which is a French company, and they make these little like note cards. And I have these note cards in this box here because this is like my recipe box, and you can see I have little tabs there, and when I learn recipes or write food recipes or anything like that, I put them on this card and then categorize them here, and I use these cards. Oh, I've got a full pack. So this is like a full pack of their note cards. They're like, they would be A7, I think. 5. A6 or A7, they're pretty small. Yeah. And so I use that. I have a little, I have a teeny tiny clipboard that I put these on, and when I cook, I take the card from the box and I add them. Oops, sorry, I'm clacking around. And I put them on the clipboard, and then I like put it up in my kitchen, and that way I can make my recipe. So this is like something that lives in my kitchen, and I wanted to show you this because Lavie Anime has a collaboration with Foglietto, and they're knitting note cards. Let me pull one out for you. Knitting cards specifically designed by Foglietto for Lavie Anime. They're so cute. So here we go. You can see, voila. So it's got the pattern, designer, yarn, color, cast on, cast off, gauge, project notes, and then more project notes in the back, and the little like ruler at the bottom. And I just thought they were so cute. I'm not 100% sure how they're going to come into practice. I have tons of notebooks. This is like a little station break. I use this notebook, which I mentioned before, for sewing. And it's got like this is a traveler's notebook, and I have like a little swatch of fabric for whatever I make, and all the information written down on the bottom. With knitting, I obviously use Ravelry for most of that information, so I don't like doubling up information. Like if I've got information available somewhere digitally, I don't see the point in putting it physically. But then these are so cute, and I already kind of am in this system because I have the other kinds of these cards. Maybe they could work together in a kind of productive way, and especially if I want to explore making my own patterns and designs, it might be nice to have like little cards like this where I can have information written out and use the other cards, have the notes written down, have these go with swatches, maybe design like swatches and stuff like that. So it's something that I'm kind of like thinking about, and having something like this would be a good idea. So I stuck 3 packets of these ones in my bag with the yarn, and yeah, I'm really happy to see if I can use those. If anybody else actually uses these, let me know. I do like pen and paper, and I do like using these kinds of things. So if anybody is like that too, let me know. And if I do end up using them, I'll let you know too, because that's what we do here. Cool. Okay, last bit of yarn that's not from my most recent trip. I can't remember if I showed this in the last episode, but spoiler warning for anyone who is part of the Mysterious Manor Le Garçon club. I'm going to show you all three because all three have arrived. If you're still waiting for the last one, skip ahead a minute or two. I'm going to show you all three super quick. This is the first one, which was the Butler. Max showed this one in the latest episode of the Happy Hour podcast. This one is the second one, which is the Uninvited Guest sock set. And then this is actually a new colorway, which is the mini, which is Vanilla Ice Blue, which I really, really like this color. I like this set a lot, actually. It's probably my favorite of the three. And then the final one, which is the latest one, is the Lady of the House, which is this, which is amazing. Super cool, really, really like it. Like the pair of the mini as well with this. And I think maybe this might actually end up looking kind of striped if you do it in a small circumference, I would say. So I'm interested to see how this will knit up. And all three together just make a beautiful, God, it is real skill holding up multiple skeins of yarn. All three together look really, really great. The little stitch or progress keeper is swinging. But yeah, so you can see how they look as a set. They look amazing. It's one of those things, whenever I had this set together, I was like, oh, I'd love to do it in a pattern all together, but chances are these are just all going to be like really nice sock tubes because I love my sock tubes. So this is the second Mysterious sock set club. The first one was Mysterious Forest, and those all had stellina in them, and I think I mentioned about those. The time is coming for me to cast those on, so as soon as I finish my next sock tube, definitely the Mysterious Forest is coming along because I want to have sparkly socks for Christmas, and I figure September, October, November is, you know, a good time to start making those so that I can have sparkly socks to wear in December for the festive season. So that's the plan with that, and this is the latest set, so it's beautiful. I can't wait to like actually start working with them, but I want to get through my other club first. And of course, in the latest episode of the Happy Hour, Max shared the next club theme, which is going to be Mysterious Mountain, I believe. And even though I haven't touched a single skein from the last two clubs, of course I'm going to sign up for this club too because they're wonderful and they're just a little treat, and I love it, and I love knowing that I'll be able to make socks for the rest of my life because I have so much sock yarn, which is great. Cool, so finally, last but not least, is Amsterdam. So I'm gonna like finish us off with that. I went to Amsterdam for a long weekend last week, and I wore my lovely Vellichor and had a great time there, celebrating Pride. The whole city kind of celebrates together, so it was really, really great. But we landed in Amsterdam, dropped our stuff at the hotel, and I immediately went to Stephen and Penelope to get some yarn. So this is Stephen and Penelope, which is Stephen West's yarn shop in Amsterdam. Stephen lives in Amsterdam, I believe. Yeah, of course he does, and his studio's there. So I went there immediately and I picked up some yarn. I knew exactly what I wanted to get. I didn't know what colors, but I knew exactly what I wanted to get. I wanted to pick up some tandem to make a funfetti sweater, which is in the most recent episode of Lichen magazine, which is a pattern by Sylvia Watts Cherry. And I've loved it since I saw it, and it's wild because there's not that many people have made it on Ravelry, and I'm like, I don't understand why, because it's so cool to me. And hopefully you'll check it out after watching this, and maybe you want to make it too. But I picked up the yarn for that, and it is knit in Westwool Tandem, which I like triple checked because I had this awful feeling like, oh my god, I bought a sweater quantity of yarn and I've picked the wrong, because there's Tandem glow hairs, they're mohair base obviously, and then what's the other one? Tandem, is it bicycle? I can't think of it. Anyway, they have two like Westwool bases, like their company's bases, and 3 Westwool bases, and so this is one of them. Oh, these are the colors I picked. I'm going to hold them up as a group. Here you go. Amazing, amazing, amazing. So the funfetti, hopefully I popped up a picture. You can see it's kind of like, I'm assuming it's slip stitches or slipping, and it creates this like fun, like almost like houndstooth textured one. I thought a bit about doing like all grays, but in the end, when I got there and saw the yarn in person, I thought about like, I saw these 3 colors in particular. So let me do it like this, yeah. So this is Lichen. This is Green Olive. And then this is Canal House. which is like this purpley grey color. So these three are going to be like the colors on the body. So I thought that they would make kind of a cool like camo effect almost. And then this light grey, which is called Dutch Sky, is going to be the ribbing on the neck. So yeah, so I just kind of like pulled things out from the shelves and just kind of bought what spoke to me. And that was really kind of enjoyable and fun to do in the store. Yeah, so the store itself was like, it's like a long hallway of a store, and the staff were all super, super nice. They all spoke English, super friendly, super chatty. And yeah, as soon as I walked in the door, I was welcomed, and they were all really, really great, asking if I was looking for anything, complimented my sweater, which was really, really nice. And I actually initially went in there, I went in looking at their Corrie Worsted to see if they had more of the Flouromorganite, which they didn't have, unfortunately, but anyway, que sera, sera. So yeah, it was really, really nice. I picked up those skein, that sort of quantity for that funfetti, and then the only other thing I grabbed was this skein of Spincycle. There you go. This is the color Dream World, which is exclusive to Stephen and Penelope. So this one is like, it's like a purple reds and greens. This one definitely skews a lot more purple. So it's almost like festive in a way with the like greens underneath. I think I want to make a Flicker and Flame by Andrea Mowry with this. I'm kind of like warming up to some hats patterns recently. So I think I want to get some hat patterns kind of on my mind as we kind of come into the colder months. I have, yeah, definitely want to make some of this because it's like a special, it's like my travel skein because it's like exclusive. Like I love when you go to yarn shopping, like, okay, what can I only get here? And these kind of exclusive colorways, definitely, they get me every time. And as we know, I really like my Spincycle, so I'm excited to knit with this guy. And that was a lot of, ooh, where's the last thing? The last thing, which I nearly forgot, is what my boyfriend got from me as he waited around. Was this enamel pin that says knit all the things from there. So this will be going on my big knitting bag that lives here in the flat. And yeah, so that was the last thing we picked up. Stephen and Penelope is definitely a beautiful store, definitely worth checking out. I will say it says on the bag, Stephen and Penelope, fine yarns. It's definitely fine yarns. Like it's Qing Fibre, it's Lavie Anime, it's Spincycle, even the Westwool. Like they're all pretty high, like price point yarns. They are fine yarns. They are a lot of indie dyers, hand dyed yarns, super special yarns. So it's one of those things where it's like you are going to be spending a bit in there, especially if you're going for sweater quantity like I am, or I was. So something to be aware of when you go there. I'm assuming if you're traveling to there, you want to get something special and you're willing to splurge on yourself, and you can definitely do that there. But I don't think I could really spot kind of like the like budget, you know, yarns or the more affordable yarns, of which there are many out there. So I think they definitely do specialize in getting those cool indie dyers, kind of more difficult to find yarn creators that exist in the world and bringing them to part of Central Europe, which is really, really cool. So it was wonderful, absolutely loved my visit. Can't wait to cast on the funfetti. I definitely have my mind, I actually wrote out my mind of the sweaters I want to complete by the end of the year, or like, because I have like, I feel like my year ends with my Christmas Eve cast on or my Max's birthday cast on, and I know which one I want to do this year, but there's also 4 or 5 sweaters that I want to get done before that time. So I've written them all out. The funfetti is in there, design is in there, 2 Max patterns are in there, so we'll see. It's probably about 5 or 6 between now and Christmas Eve. And as I've said multiple times before, it doesn't matter how many knits you do in a year, but I think I definitely want to get certain things done before the end of the year, just so I can enjoy my Christmas Eve cast on. And yeah, so it's been a super fun couple of weeks. I didn't expect to acquire as much yarn as I have, but you know, this happens. The interesting thing is that with Mexico, I've done some research, and even with like fabric stores, now that I'm doing more sewing, it doesn't seem like there's a huge kind of industry, I guess, or where I'm going. So if you are from Mexico City specifically and you know of any yarn shops or any maybe even fabric shops, like do let me know. From what research I found, it's not a huge craft there. I think there's more of like a weaving culture there, which makes sense. So I'm not really expecting to get any travel yarn or do any fabric or yarn shopping when I'm there, which basically means I'm going to obviously enjoy the trip for what it is, but it means I'll probably get more knitting done than I acquire there. So it's quite good because there will be a lot of relaxing time for me to get through some whips and knock some sweaters out, and obviously lots of airplane time. It's a long flight, and the last time I was on a long flight, I basically did half of the yesteryear sweater. So I do love knitting on a plane to almost an addictive degree. So yeah, so that is what's happening. The next knitting podcast won't be till I come back from Mexico. I am going to get up some sewing content for you guys. Thank you to everyone who commented and said they were excited about me learning to sew. I'm also very excited. So I should have a video hopefully up soon with some sewing, maybe even 2, depending on how things go in the next week or 2 before we leave. And then when I come back, there'll be another podcast which will have all of the knitting that I get done during that time. Probably won't be as many acquisitions, probably a lot more knitting, but that's what we're here for. So yeah. And yeah, that's it, guys. I hope everyone's keeping really well. If it's hot where you are in the world, I hope you're still knitting through it. I know I am. I can't stop knitting no matter how hot it is. Not big projects, but yeah, but still. I hope you kept you company. I hope you're not lonely. I hope I put a smile on your face and that you enjoyed. Let me know how you're getting on. Let me know what you're working on. And yeah, we're well over halfway through the year. How are you doing with your knitting goals? Are you just like enjoying the ride, or do you have like a certain number that you want to hit? Like, I want to know. So yeah, drop me a comment down below. Subscribe if you're not subscribed. I have some plans for the next 2 milestones. So if we hit 9 and if we hit 10, I have a plan for both of those. It's not a giveaway because, you know, I don't like giveaways. I like something that we can all enjoy. So I have some wheels turning in my head on what to do for that. So if you're not subscribed, please do, because once we get to those points, we'll do something fun together. And then yeah, like, comment, subscribe. Those are the things. You can look me up on Instagram and Ravelry if you want. I feel like people kind of figure out things on Ravelry because Ravelry shares everything with everyone, which I didn't really realize. But yeah, so do all those fun things. Let me know how you are. I hope you're really good. Lots of love from London, and look after yourselves. Bye.